This is Commander-at-Large Gregory Bovino, Class 325. And right now, you're sitting on your ass listening to Gil Maza and his little Old Patrol podcast. When? You should be out there with me, catching aliens, stacking Title 8s, and doing some real Old Patrol-y stuff. Let's give a shout out to some retired golden oldies from yesteryear. Rich Hudson, Jaime Rios, Justin Bristow, and Jason Owens. Some real Old Patrollers. Now folks, quit scrolling and get back on the line. Mean green all the way. It's honor first, honor always, or no honor at all.
Welcome to the Old Patrol HQ podcast. I'm your host, Gil Maza, Class 313 retired out of San Diego sector. Are you ready to jump back into the fire? If you thought part 1 with Commander Gregory K Bovino was intense, you haven't heard anything yet. Last time, the frontman of the entire Trump illegal immigration enforcement effort, a 30-year Border Patrol veteran, pulled the curtain back on the Autopen Administration's catastrophic open border crisis and its consequences. Consequences we'll be dealing with for a long time after this administration is over. He talked about the realities and unprecedented dangers the courageous men and women of Border Patrol, ICE, and all the other agencies are currently facing, and the cost of carrying the nation's sharpest spear. But today we dig deeper. Today we're talking about missions that never made the headlines and the breaches in border security that still keep Commander Bovino up at night. He talks to us about staring down politicians who want to trade American lives for optics, and the raw, unfiltered truth about what it really takes to command men and women into an operation and a situation like America's never seen before. No script, no filter, no retreat. I hope you're suited, booted, and strapped, because part 2 with Op Commander Greg Bovino starts right now. Okay, I want to address a little bit more about that as we go, but now I want you to buckle your seatbelt here because I'm going to ask you another question. 20 Border Patrol sectors across the country, okay? Why aren't more chiefs jumping in to support and expand these operations nationwide? Because if there was 20 of you, Chief, this job would be done in a week.
Oh, wow, Gil, that's another good question there. Again, I think that, remember, we're 2 months into this, as you said, we're actually a little more than 2 months now, but we're a few months into this. And, a lot of people are it's called war footing. Remember, I was already on war footing a long time ago, and yes. I had maybe a leg up on some of the other individuals that have been in this. And, we've got a lot of new chiefs out there, new mandates, new ways of doing business, on the border. Remember, the border does have to be controlled before we do anything. I checked the numbers this morning, and very low numbers. So those chiefs they're doing a good job with controlling the border. And as that border comes under control, though, then those chiefs, and Chief Banks will tell you, as well as anybody else, those chiefs are going to be taking an expanding role in other things. Okay. And, rather than me say, hey, that chief's not out there, hitting the Home Depot there in downtown, wherever. It's incumbent upon me to help mentor and guide chiefs that may not have had any experience in that. Gil, I hate to say it, but I'm a dinosaur. Well said. Yeah, but I'm a dinosaur, though. Look, I guess going on 30 years now, and some of these other chiefs are junior to me in that aspect. And Gil, you mentioned what you did in 1996, what I did in 96. Perhaps they haven't had the ability to see that type of thing, so something's new. And as it's new, we're going to immerse them into this new way of doing business. And, I've got I've got a great outlook on things. We've got some great chiefs out there that I think are going to do great things. Some new field operations directors, many of whom did come from Customs and Border Protection and the U.S. Border Patrol, that are field operations directors in ICE. What does that tell you? It tells you that, guess what? We're getting mighty serious about taking bad people, bad things out of the country. So I think as this ramps up and this thing gins up and spools up, people are going to want to get on board. People are going to want to get on board.
Absolutely. Hey, this is a great adventure, Gil.
this might be probably my last great adventure. What a great adventure. And everybody is going to want to get on board. I mean, look at the recruitment numbers right now. Obviously, the patriotic Americans are getting on board because they, by God, want to get in on this before it's over. And I definitely want to get in on it before it's over. Absolutely. I want to go arrest as many illegal aliens as I possibly can. And do that with these fine men and women of the U.S. Border Patrol and those allied teams. Hey, we got some great allied teams out there. FBI, let's give a shout out to them.
Yeah.
FBI is kicking ass on our 18 USC 111 assault on a federal officer. They've actually got FBI agents assigned, Gil, to our operations, that as soon as someone assaults us, our agents link up with those FBI agents and they start the case within minutes of the assault. Never seen that before, ever.
No,
ever.
Hell no. No, not at all. Well, you know what, Chief? The thing about it is that, you're breathing new life into this agency that I think Jeff Milton is dying to get to work for you. He would love to work for you. Number two, you've done more for recruitment, not only of ICE, but of Border Patrol in the last few months than all the recruitment efforts in the last 10 years. So that's in and of itself. But one thing that I really am listening to you right now, I appreciate the fact that even though I want to drag you into the chisme, you are being totally a statesman and a tactician and taking care of those under you, because you don't want to alienate anybody else. You want them on board. You're trying to bring them in. And that right there, Chief, is what makes you different than probably a huge percentage of the rest of the people up there in the leadership in the patrol. But, okay, so moving on, okay, we're going to knock it back down a notch. Besides the fact that this approach to immigration enforcement has taken society by surprise, has taken, everybody by surprise, I think within DHS CBP, the rank and file agents, I think even they got caught off guard with the level of enforcement. Because even though historically we have been in situations like this, there has never been a situation like this that a Border Patrol or ICE or anybody's had to face in the history of the patrol. And I'll say that unequivocally, okay? Not because those guys weren't tough and we dealt with riots, we dealt with those kind of things, yes, but never with the sheer scale of resistance and obstruction from not only the Democrat Party to the government of the states, but also the paid activists and all those people. And not only that, but a handful of Republicans as well. So with that in mind, do you believe sanctuary cities and states bear the primary responsibility for basically creating these conditions that have led to an unprecedented level of enforcement and backlash that you're seeing?
Partly so, partly, but not totally. I think that it's some of the laziness over the past 20 or 30 years on all parties that decided to ignore what was happening with immigration. And I think that laziness is what allowed these past 4 years to take off, including that term sanctuary city. So, I think that over the past 30 years, and you and I saw, as you said, you saw them dial back on what you were doing when you first came in the patrol. So it started a long time ago.
Yes.
And that is what allowed the sanctuary cities and those policies to take place. But when we talk about the level of enforcement and the level of violence, it's very real out there. Our agents, our Border Patrol agents, are seeing from the very beginning of shift through the end of shift a running battle. When I say a running battle, I'm not using that term lightly. It is a running battle. Their heads are on swivels every single second. Whether it's an individual ramming them with vehicles out of nowhere. I mean, just out of nowhere, you're getting rammed by a vehicle. Think about that for a second. That's pretty scary.
Hell yeah, for anybody.
Yeah. Or when you're making an arrest of an illegal alien, you've got a lot of these individuals, these extremists, these weaker-minded individuals that have actually listened to those sanctuary city community leaders and politicians are actually listening to them and taking up force against the Border Patrol. That's unprecedented as well. So that they're worried about that. Physical assaults, violence. and now gunfire. We saw it with the National Guard. We saw it with what happened a few weeks ago in Little Village. Definitely unprecedented. But if there's a force that can deal with that, and not only deal with that, but effectively accomplish the mission, it's the U.S. Border Patrol. I'm in awe of watching them, Gil, in that running battle. Some of these folks have been in this for 6 months now. Gil, 3 cities, and they've been at it for 6 months. Now, one thing that a lot of people might say, "Oh my God, they've been in it for that's too long." Well, what is this doing for the Border Patrol? As those agents cycle back to those Border Patrol sectors, it's building agents, especially those young agents that come out and are put into that type of an environment. We're building agents. We're building teeth back into the mean green machine. So there's a lot of good that comes from this. We are going to have the premier. We already have the premier border force, but we're going to have the premier border force and police and law enforcement agency in existence by sheer virtue of what our men and women are seeing every single day. The worst of the worst violence. When we say worst of the worst, I call that the worst of the worst violence that they're seeing. And the way they're dealing with it is truly remarkable. Look at the very few problems that we've had over the past.
Comparatively speaking, okay. So let's talk about that. Let's address that. So, is the current Border Patrol agent, the ICE agent, the people that are being detailed to you, are they properly trained and equipped to handle this level of enforcement and resistance we've never seen before?
Bottom line, yes. Remember, our Border Patrol agents have the toughest federal law enforcement academy. And I know there might be some others that are going to disagree with me out there, but I say we have the toughest federal law enforcement academy. And I want us to, because we don't want anything given to us, Gil. That which is given has no value. I'll say that again. Amen. That which is given has no value. And as you know, nothing's given in the U.S. Border Patrol. You earn every single stripe in the U.S. Border Patrol. And because of that, I'll say that we are up to the task. In America's roughest, toughest cities, we are up to the task. Now, does that mean, do we have some lessons to learn and some tactics to learn? Absolutely. But because we've got such a resilient, tough workforce, we're learning those lessons almost immediately, and then putting those lessons into play in the next city we go to, in the next mission we go to, and the next. We just get better and better and better. Hey, look at Charlotte, Gil. We had our record apprehension rate in Charlotte. I think it was in a 5-hour period. We had approximately 87 apprehensions. Now you might say, well, you know what? I've caught a group of 87 before. What's the big deal? Yeah. Well, those apprehensions are. Exactly. They're out. That's each individual agent conducting his mission out there, apprehending someone. And then remember, we learned the lessons in Los Angeles about those consensual encounters. Remember, we had a TRO, a temporary restraining order, that said we could no longer do consensual encounters. You may remember that. That went to the Supreme Court. They overruled that lower court and said we were actually doing a fantastic job. But what a lot of people may not realize is we took the lessons from Los Angeles, applied that to Chicago. Have you heard one comment or complaint about our consensual encounters in Chicago or Charlotte?
No.
Not one. Yeah. Those agents themselves developed what we call the super narrative. You ain't beating our narrative. You're not going to beat our narrative. We've got the super narrative for consensual encounters. How we document that is the best that's ever been documented. And so those 87 apprehensions, I'll go back to the 87. We probably could have got a few more, but remember, those agents are out apprehending, and then they're doing the best paperwork in federal law enforcement.
Well, that's outstanding.
That's what we expect of them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
so
that's outstanding.
Yep. So we're getting better. Every city we go to, every place we go to, we get better. But despite the resistance, despite all the craziness you hear from the fringe, less socialist sheep news media, especially that bunch up in Chicago, there's one up there called the Chicago Block Club. It's a conglomerate of media up there. I call it the Chicago Liars Club because all they do is lie. And but we're getting better and better despite the Chicago Liars Club and all the other crazy news media out there. We're getting better and better and more effective, and the future's wide open.
All right. That is so great to hear, Chief, that's happening. And I'm glad to hear that you're finding that our agents are actually well equipped. Now, I get messages, tons of messages I wake up to every day. The good news is the vast majority, bar none, are fired up to join the team, get the job done. Everybody that I've spoken to that has worked with you under this operation says it was the best enforcement experience that they've ever had in their entire careers, and they would willingly go back anytime. I got retirees that are chomping at the bit to go on the streets and do some old patrol knock and talks, right? Make our ancestors proud. But there is a little bit of a gut punch out there, Chief. There are some in the patrol that seemed either checked out, unwilling to even get anywhere near this situation, this operation. Attacks on agents up now at this point, probably up to 2,000%. Tailed to their hotel rooms, doxed online, families targeted. Tom Homan just came out and said that he hasn't been home with his wife for 2 years, right? Now, another part of this is that intel from the field is suggesting that there are some ICE field offices in major cities that say they want nothing to do with you guys coming to their cities or even being in their backyards. And even the Boston ICE field was quoted as saying, I don't want that clown show anywhere near us. So what are you seeing on your end?
Sure. Let's go back to Charlotte here.
Okay.
The ICE field office there in Charlotte, that was the best we had ever worked with. That ICE office actually had a flight a day because they watched what was happening in those other cities, Chicago, Los Angeles, and the others. And they said, you know what? Let's don't fill the ICE facility up here and have a big riot at the facility. Let's fill a plane up and get them the hell out of the country. And we filled those planes up. So, again, it's a learning experience for all involved. ICE is 20 years old. We're 101 years old. We've got our traditions. We've got our ways of doing business, and we're very, very good at it. So, I think that as we work together and we integrate together, we're only going to get better. Sure, there's always some fog and friction. It's called the fog and friction of battle. And that's what I look at that as, is fog and friction. There may be some folks out there that call me a clown. As a matter of fact, a lot of people on social media call me a clown show, or all kinds of stuff,
I'll give you some more names later.
Yeah, absolutely. So you clown show me all you want, but what's not a clown show, or what those Border Patrol agents and ICE officers and other law enforcement are up against out there, that's not a clown show.
Amen to that. Yes.
Yeah. So my main focus is getting them what they need and leading the operation where it needs to be led. And fog and friction will drop off, as it always does, because if there are individuals out there that don't agree with the mission, or can't keep up with the mission, then they'll fall off. They'll fall off to the side, as they always do. And then what happens is, this is a synergistic effort. People want to be part of success. I want to be part of success. I see President Trump, Secretary Holman, the U.S. border. I want to be part of that. And I think a lot of other people do. So as we lose some of the naysayers and some of the that fog and friction, it's replaced by what we need it to be replaced by. And that's okay with me. I guess you could call that the evolution of operations.
Yeah, well, I think you're answering my next question, which is, how do we rally the holdouts? How do we boost morale? Basically, making sure that all our agents and officers out there feel backed up, supported, right? And then, making sure that they are getting the right training, the resources, and the support that they need to accomplish this titanic mission that they've been placed on, that you guys have been placed on. And I'm using titanic in on purpose, intentionally, because a lot of people see this as just this ship it came out in force. It's huge, but man, it's just bound. It's on its way to an iceberg, and it's going to eventually, it has to crash.
Sure. And it's funny, I've heard that myself. There's been a person or two that's told me that, but if it's not us out there, Gil, then who is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
This is our mission. We're going to take this mission and we're going to make it work. And to the icebergs out there, maybe what they're not accounting on is in the front of that Titanic ship, we've got a bunch of torpedo
Icebreakers.
silos
Yeah.
there, and we're blasting torpedoes at every single iceberg out there. We'll blow a whole line of icebergs the hell out of the way. And you know what? Our hull's reinforced with the training and the good people. And if we don't blow all the icebergs out of the way, we'll just smash them head on and knock them out of the way. That's the way I see it. But, the country depends on us.
Yeah.
Depends on us.
Yeah.
To get this mission accomplished. It depends on us smashing those icebergs out of the way. There's no room for error and there's no room for failure. Mean Green Team doesn't know what failure is. We've never failed at anything. You know that. From the Miltons on up, we've never failed at anything. We only know success. And hey, you know what? There may be a mistake or two along the way. I'm not infallible.
Yeah,
What's
shenanigans. I said, I always say history, heritage, and legacy with a few shenanigans along the way.
Hey, it wouldn't be an operation if there's not a few shenanigans on the way. Now, would it?
Any fun whatsoever. So the next thing I want to talk to you about now we're going to get back to the spicy section, okay? Now
I never knew we left.
there you go. I just wanted to make sure you were paying attention still. As an American and a retired Border Patrol agent, I appreciate your stance. I appreciate, and I understand it, right? I know the ins and outs of it. I know the law. I understand how everything works. So I'm not shocked or appalled or wondering what's going on. But the optics of this does seem to be daunting and a bit messy to the outside eye, right? You've already said this isn't willy-nilly. This isn't just jump in and figure it out. You got a plan, and you're executing that plan. The protests, the paid activists, the Democrat leadership, they're just trying to just really rile people up for no real good solid reason. But recently, right, there's been some court rulings, and even in your New York Times interview, what they talked about allegations against you, like the recent perjury claims with that tear gas incident, right? And this has caused even some within the rank and file to question your integrity and your actions on that. So can you break down that instance so that even us knuckle dragging PAs out here can understand what went on there and why you're not sitting in jail right now under perjury charges?
You just said it. I'm not sitting in jail under perjury charges. I wonder why that is.
I wonder.
Probably because I didn't perjure myself and didn't lie, Gil. But let's talk about the Little Village incident. This is very important. A lot of things were going on there that day, and I didn't deploy one canister of gas. Let's get that out of the way now. I deployed 2. Okay. And if I had the ability to deploy 50, I would have. It's just I didn't have 50, or I would have deployed all 50. The situation
I'll start you a GoFundMe.
What's that?
I'll start you a GoFundMe for some more tear gas canisters.
Absolutely. Maybe we can get $1 million there and get enough. But situation was really dire there. What the court didn't do was read, I did an E-Star. Just like every other Border Patrol agent, old Chief Bovino got to write an E-Star, which is my use of force report that detailed quite vociferously in a very detailed way what and why I deployed gas that day. So it's kind of funny that no one wants to read my report there. They want to go on 2-second sound bites that the plaintiffs are feeding the judge. If you can believe that. The plaintiffs are feeding the judge a 2-second sound bite and saying, yep, Bovino lied. He's a liar. But I think it's very well documented, even in our own video, the October the 28th video that we put out on social media with a fantastic timeline. Yeah. Take a look at that. I probably need to regurgitate that one and put it back out for the viewers. But a lot of things on that day were taking place that had me deploy the gas. And I think, all those factors taken together your viewers and the audience and the American public would get would understand why I decided to deploy gas. And again, I would have deployed 50 if I'd had them. But let's take a look at some factors that were happening. We had gang members taking semi or fully automatic weapons out of the trunk of their car and heading towards where we were. There's one little
Just
little
a little
juicy
minor
detail
hiccup. Yeah.
That's pretty scary, right? But then we also have this thing called bounties. Bounties on the heads of Border Patrol agents by the Latin Kings, and we were right in the middle of Latin Kings territory. As a matter of fact, intelligence said that they were going to get on the rooftops to do harm to us. Well, guess what we started seeing on rooftops prior to the deployment of the gas? People on rooftops. So there's a couple of factors there. Then we had the physical assaults and objects being thrown at Border Patrol agents. That was taking place. Then on top of that, Gil, we had a Border Patrol transport van surrounded and cut off by the opposition. In other words, they were trapped.
Yes.
This was all taking place at the same time, and within just a few minutes, in the same time, all this was taking place. Then we had other individuals trying to box us in to keep us from leaving the area there in Little Village that day, pulling box trucks in front of our vehicles, trying to prevent. Now, why would you want to prevent a Border Patrol agent from leaving an area? That in itself sends chills down my spine. So you have all these different events taking place at the same time. And so we had the physical assaults, the objects being thrown. 2 water bottles were thrown at Border Patrol agents, and then the physical assaults, people on rooftops, potential gang members with semi or fully automatic weapons headed our way, a transport van surrounded, Border Patrol agents being blocked off. And I deployed 1 gas canister, and they said, well, you know what? You didn't throw that gas canister where those 2 objects, where those 2 water bottles were being thrown, or the physical assaults occurred. They're exactly right. I didn't, because 2 reasons why. One is I didn't want to hit anybody in the head with a gas canister. Guess what? You know what? I guess I have a heart, Gil. Didn't want to hurt anybody. Now, I guess even I've got
what
a heart.
everybody says, right? Yeah.
Absolutely. And then also there's this thing called the wind. The wind. Can you imagine that? There's this thing called the wind that blows. So I deployed the gas canister to the right of where the violence was taking place, because the wind was blowing the gas to my left where that was taking place at.
Okay.
So then I deployed a second one, and I was out of gas at that point. And what that did is that dispersed the crowd from that area. And then we had to deal with the van that was surrounded, which was about a half a block away. So we got that situation under control. Thank God we had gas. Thank gracious, because if it's not gas, guess what it is then, Gil?
Bullets.
Hand to hand and or bullets. And that's not a good thing when people are converging on your location with weapons. And remember, you might say, well, how do you really know there were weapons there? How do you know that? Well, luckily, one of our air and marine helicopters had recorded the incident from the air and actually piped that over the radio saying, hey, they're getting weapons out of the trunk. 4 of them have got maroon hoodies, and they're headed in your direction. Guess what we saw about 5 minutes later in the crowd?
Yeah.
Someone with a maroon hoodie. Definitely amps up the electricity in the atmosphere.
Oh, yeah. And the pucker factor.
So then we have all that taking place, deployed gas, and now we have Plantus extremist judges and an out-of-control news media calling me a liar. You know what? Read the E-Star report. Read what was really happening there instead of taking a 2-second soundbite or some video that doesn't show the whole spectrum of events. Take a look at our video. It does show the spectrum of events. And then maybe put yourself in the shoes of those agents. We call that the reasonable person, or any reasonable person. What would they think if they were in that type of a situation And that situation, by the way, Gil, happens all the time, if not daily, in those big cities, Los Angeles, Chicago, or Charlotte, not just that day.
Yeah,
That's
and see,
every day.
and that's just it, right? So these people that are the ones I'm mentioning here, and they know who they are, and they're probably going to hear this podcast. They're saying that your tactics and your court, your actions in court and everything have compromised the courtroom testimony for DHS CBP and also compromised future criminal immigration cases based on your actions. What do you say to them?
I would say that let's take a look at the Seventh Court of Appeals there in Chicago. The Seventh Court stayed the decision, which means basically they overruled that lower court. So that's a big win for us. I believe that vindicates our actions and lets us shine a light on extremism, whether it's an out-of-control news media feeding a judge, inaccurate news clips or information. I believe it lets us take a look at the fact that our actions were reasonable, were necessary, and same thing in Los Angeles with the court's decision that went to the Supreme Court. Those higher courts, it looks like they've got some judges that are actually pretty reasonable and not extreme, that can actually look at the facts of the case and give a fair ruling of the facts of the case. Not an unfair ruling based on this guy named Greg Bovino that we want to call a liar and that we really want a piece of that guy. They're looking at the facts.
And the thing about it is, Chief, if they could have got you and they could have arrested you, they would have damn well done it. They would have damn well done it,
Gil, they want my head on a platter. Absolutely. And
if
they could have done that, they absolutely would have. But the only thing is it's hard to do that when you can't prove that I've lied or done something even out of policy. So every action by those Border Patrol agents, I called it more than exemplary. I used to call it exemplary, our use of force. Now I call it more than exemplary. So any of the naysayers out there, I say that our actions were more than exemplary. And you know what? If I'm out of policy, how am I out of policy? Show me even an iota how we're out of policy. Actually, I think we use too much restraint at times with use of force.
Oh, if you read my social media posts, there are guys in there that say they would go way farther than you in doing in trying to do their enforcement. So let's get to the part where you're called the social media whore. So the New York Times interview, right? They claim, Chief, that you're having your Hollywood moment right now amid the spotlight. And even from top brass and rank and file in the Border Patrol, they're saying that you're a social media grandstander, that you're chasing likes over line work. What say you?
Well, they're the ones that keep contacting me for interviews. So whether it's the New York Times or whoever, obviously they want to hear the transparent ground truth. And I am a chief. That is something that's expected of me, is to engage with the media. To provide a truthful, again, transparent snapshot of what's going on, what our agents are facing, what we're facing, what our strategy is, what we're doing, how we're doing it. And I do the best job that I can to put that out there. Now, I don't sugarcoat it so much, Gil. I call it an illegal alien, bad people and bad things. And when I say that we're going to go after them, we are. But I think that one thing that I've noticed is when there's this giant outcry and, the media is calling us names and racists and all this crazy stuff, that lets me know that I'm over the target, that we are over the target. And guess what happens when you're over the target, Gil?
Oh, yeah.
You really let them bombs drop. Time to drop bombs. And we're going to do that. So whenever I know I'm over the target, open Bombay doors, drop bombs. We are opening
bombs
Bombay
away.
Doors. Hey, it's 0 hour. And
bombs
we're
away.
in 0 hour right now. So if they call me a media, what do you say, media darling or something like that? Well, that's one aspect of this that I never really expected. I like to go out and accomplish missions, lead Border Patrol agents to accomplish the mission.
As we've seen.
Well, yeah. And then, but if I am called to do media, and why they would want to call me to do that, I don't know. I'm old. My teeth are crooked, as many of the people that like to hate me say. You got real crooked teeth and a bad haircut. I don't know. You know, if I'm called to do that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to give it my
Yeah.
best, because those agents are giving it, by God, their damn best out there on the ground. So I'll do the best I can with this kind of thing until, I don't know, they find someone better or I get killed.
Well,
So,
don't I want to hear that from you? Because we got a lot of podcasts to do after this. But moving on, and so we can, I can let you go on your way because I know you got work to do. What do you say about the fact that initially this was kind of mistakenly sold, I think, as we're going to go after the worst of the worst and we're going to leave everybody else alone? But that was never the plan, was it? Because we're seeing a lot of collateral garden variety illegal aliens here that the media says Chief Bovino has no forgiveness for them because they haven't committed a crime. They just happen to come into the country illegally. It's like, what do you say to them?
yeah, well, yeah, they're if they say I don't have any forgiveness for them, they're right about that, because they are all criminals. 100% of them that cross the border illegally are criminals. And if I come into contact with them, we're going to arrest them and deport them, as they should be. But as far as the worst of the worst and collaterals and things like that, Gil, something we're seeing that you and I didn't see back in the day. Say we came across a large group of illegal aliens, maybe 5% would have significant criminal and or immigration histories.
Correct.
We're not seeing that now because of the Autopen Administration and because of open borders and what Barack Hussein Obama and Bill Clinton and then, you know, Biden and the rest of that bunch did.
Yes.
Now, sometimes, absolutely. You know what we're seeing now, Gil? And this is something that I hope some of those retired Border Patrol agents that are commenting a lot on your site will see is sometimes we're seeing 55 and 60% of all collaterals. Now, we go after targets. We do targeting, but the collaterals, sometimes 55 and 60% have significant immigration and or criminal histories. That is huge. If that doesn't tell you there's a problem, then nothing does. In fact, I think one day in Chicago, it was approximately 66%.
Jeez.
66%. And remember, I include significant immigration history in there as well. Some people don't. I do. Anybody that has been deported and comes back across, that's a felony. And, you know, so we're actually seeing that. We're seeing Interpol red notices from foreign countries. They may not have an immigration history here or a criminal history here, but in those foreign countries, they do. We just caught one in Chicago. It was a Polish national. And that was an organized crime figure that they wanted back in Poland. He was that bad they wanted him back in Poland. He was just out in front of, I think, a Lowe's or a Home Depot, not without a care in the world, running amok in on our streets in our nation. Something's wrong when that happens.
100%. 100%.
Absolutely. So we're getting them all, and we target. We go after collaterals. We go after everything. If you're an illegal alien, you better use that CBP home app, because we're going to get you and we're going to deport you. We're going to get you. If you're an illegal alien, we're going to come get you. And there ain't no talking about, there ain't no tiddlywinks. There ain't no BS. When the Mean Green Team and those allied law enforcement agencies and I see you, we are going to get you. Take a look at the illegal alien that killed that poor National Guardsman a couple of days ago. We're coming to get those people. And we're going to get them all.
Amen. I heard there was a strong starting on the Somalis as well. So winding this down, you know, you and your agents keep rolling in spite of getting hit with the worst accusations we've seen, right? Kidnapping U.S. citizens, pepper spraying babies and toddlers, smashing car windows for no reasons on American citizens, beating up elderly and disabled people, Chief, really? Come on now. And then getting called everything from brown coats to Nazis to fascists to thugs. And, a lot of that crap is AI generated. It's flat out staged, but it's constant, right? So as the guy who's basically the face of most of these memes, how do you and your teams get through your day in spite of that barrage of crap hitting you every second?
Hey, we read Old Patrol HQ and we read the truth, right? So,
I'll never run out of memes, Chief. I'm just a dumbass from California with too many memes.
I do that. So, hey, you know what? We deal with it. It's expected now by some of the crazies out there. But one of the things that the team here is doing, and I know Department of Homeland Security, CBP, and Border Patrol are starting to do, is put together some really good narratives. We call them pre-narratives for these operations that put the truth out there. So when you're putting the truth out there, when some of the friendlies are putting the truth out there, and we're putting the truth out there, it keeps some of the crazies back on their heels. And I know that the agents and those allied law enforcement teams love it when we get our word out there to counter some of that craziness out there. So that's something. And again, we talk about this being a learning situation.
Yes,
Gil,
yeah.
that's something we've learned, and we're more robust every single day with what we put out there. And I think you're going to see an even more robust effort to ensure we counter those crazy. And some of that stuff is so absolutely crazy.
That anybody would
You
believe
laugh
it
at
is incredible. Yes, that anybody would believe it is incredible. So from my end, right, as a civilian, I'm a retired Border Patrol agent, but I'm a civilian. How long do you think you guys can keep this pace, right? You're gonna have, burnout, you're gonna have lawsuits, you got budget fights, you got the blue cities, sabotaging sanctuary cities. How long do you think you're gonna be able to keep this pace going?
Gil, we're going to keep the pace until we win.
Okay.
I think one thing about we're going to win this thing. Hey, it's not something we can lose, but we have the best people. Can't afford to lose it. And we have the best people. We have a godly and a righteous mission that we're going to prosecute every minute of every day. So the other thing we've got going for us is we've got that dream team. We've got the Trumps, the Gnomes, the Tom Homans, the Chief Mike Bankses that we're working for that support us. And that means a lot to us, the American taxpayer. Their outpouring of support bolsters us. And, I think that with those recruitment numbers coming in, we will receive replacements and a refresh. And there's nothing better than bringing those newer Border Patrol agents. Now they have to be off probation before we're letting them into the meat grinder here. But it's refreshing to see those young agents pouring in here and getting that great experience. So it's actually rejuvenating for a lot of us. And you know what? We've got some smart people, the staff here from the El Centro sector who's helping run these operations. They're very resilient, and we can take the stupidity from sanctuary cities, the dumb comments by the fringe left socialist sheep news media, the Chicago Liars Club, and the rest of that merry cast of clowns, the real clowns.
Amen.
And you know what? We're not worried about it. Hit us, and we'll just get stronger. We're like Rocky Marciano, the greatest heavyweight champion in history.
Yeah, I know the story.
Oh, yeah. So, you know what? You hit us, and there's a heavy price tag involved. And
Rocky Marciano used to say, they used to ask him, Rock, how come you let these guys hit you so much? Why don't you dodge? Why don't you whatever? And he says, because I know that when I punch them, the one time I punch him, they're going to go down. And so he was willing to take as many hits as it took. But when he was ready to punch, when he punched, the fight was over. So that's a very good analogy, Chief. I appreciate that. Are you ready for the rapid fire bonus round?
Oh, man. Well, it's going to be even more rapid fire than this. But you know what? Absolutely. Let me have it there, Gil. Are you going to?
Okay. Take a deep breath and brace yourself. Your thoughts on Alejandro Mayorkas?
Well, you know what? I've had the opportunity to work for a lot of individuals in this job over the past 3 decades. Before I hit specifically on your question, and I'm not going to dodge it, is I work for the very best Secretary of Homeland Security that I've ever worked for, Christy Nome.
Amen.
A hard worker, motivated. I've never seen the level of support for law enforcement in general. She's actually been out in the middle of what you and I have talked about
We've all seen
today
it.
and seen it with her own eyes. And it was absolutely amazing for her to do that. So I've worked for the very best. And what that lets me know about some of the very worst that I've worked for is, you know what, they may be the worst. And we can't let those vacillations of politics hurt the Border Patrol. So one thing that we won't let, whether it's a Mayorkas or a Gil Trade and Travel Kurlikowski, the reason we call him Trade and Travels because he was afraid to visit Border Patrol stations and would only talk about trade and travel. But
Useless.
is not to be drug into the trenches by individuals that would allow the Newton Azrak killers to go free.
Amen.
To allow them to be prosecuted by the state, not the federal government. So not to be drug into the trenches by those. We stay above that. We're too good for that. We're the mean green team. And we gather resiliency from the gnomes of the world, and we operate on her level without ever going in to those lower levels by others. That's just basic strategy. That is the professionalism of the U.S. Border Patrol. So that's what I think about that is I'll never get drug into that. Now, Border Patrol, we operate in the trenches, but we won't let anybody drag us in to the trenches. We're too good for that. We're the most premier, primary, and professional law enforcement agency in existence. It's why I wear this uniform with pride. And that's what I'm going to do. If there's people that don't like this uniform, some of those that have been appointed over us in the past, well, you know what? You were never good enough to wear it. And I'll just leave it at that.
Amen. Well, I like the fact that you're basically you're doing what we should do and that's ignore that vileness and just move on and get the job done. Okay. Now, the next question is, when you retire, are you going to get a full facial makeover and go on the consultant circuit like Yuma Sector Chief Chris Clem?
I must not be as pretty as Chris Clem. I have to get braces and all this kind of stuff that happen to me. I'll tell you what I do want to do is I want to get some long overdue makeovers, and those makeovers are for all my guns and all the guns that I'm going to buy and all the animals that I'm going to hunt, kill, and eat. I love that natural protein. And I'm going to get a makeover for that's long overdue. I hate that I've neglected, doing that. There's a bunch back home I bear hunt with, and I haven't done that for a few years now because of what we're doing here, a different calling. But we got a few things to do when this thing's over, and we're going to have fun. As we say in the Border Patrol, sometimes we ride straight, we tell the truth, we drink good whiskey, and have a good time. So
amen to that, Chief. Amen to that.
We're going to do a little bit.
Amen to that. Now, we were talking about a small beef that you had concerning USBP retirees. Do you want to mention that at all, or do we move on?
Hey, you know what, Gil? It's everybody's entitled to their opinion. One thing I will say about the Border Patrol retirees, if they don't agree with what I am doing or think there's a better way to do it, because they're retirees, they've got a little bit of an out there. They did put their time in, and you know what? They're still part of the mean green team. They still bleed green. They can do it one way. I'll do it another way. And
that's not what I'm referring to, Chief, because most of these guys, they're with you 100%. But I'm talking about the idea you were mentioning that Border Patrol and Border Patrol related organizations should prioritize our retirees when it comes to whether it's government contracts, whether it's, things like that. You want to speak to that a little bit?
I got you. I understand what you're saying now. Sorry about that. Absolutely. I think that Border Patrol agents, we're part of the green team, and those that retire are always part of the green team. And I think that Border Patrol could probably do a better job of taking care of Border Patrol when those Border Patrol agents retire, whether it's a Gil Maza or a Chris Clem or anyone else is us gathering together in retirement, and those of us that aren't retired, and maintaining those close relationships. A lot of other agencies do that very well. Very, very well. Their retirees are connected automatically. I think we could do a little bit better of a job there. Not a criticism, but merely an observation is we could do a lot better in the Border Patrol taking care of Border Patrol, keeping those lines of communication open with retirees, those that are still in service, and doing exactly what you say. So absolutely, I hope that's something that that we'll take a look at in the future, because we've got one hell of a workforce that can tackle any problem in existence. You're doing a podcast right now on one of those problems, Gil, and I think that we can take a look at that and take care of each other, make that green through and through and through and through, beginning till end, cradle to grave.
Yeah, amen to that. Yeah, I've burned too many bridges, Chief. I've pissed too many people off. So this is about as good as it's gonna get for me. But I'd rather be sitting right here talking to you than any other place. Now, as we close, a couple of things I want to mention. First of all, Gary Brugman, I don't know if you ever heard of him, but the man wants me to tell you that he's your number one fan. Of course, he's wrong, but I'm just going to say that for him. He's your number one fan. And also, Giovanna Alvarez, that's one of my followers on Twitter, just adores you as well. And just says, keep up the good work, keep up the good fight, and keep doing what you're doing. Now, the only couple more orders of business I have for you is number one, you promised me a ride along. So, and if you're going to take me, then I want to go on the government dime. I want per diem. I want lodging. I want, I'll bring my own vest. I'll bring my own gun. Okay.
Gil, you drive a hard bargain. You've always driven a hard bargain, but
I'm putting
really
this out right here so they know, and then you definitely owe me that first beer.
Hey, first beer or whiskey is definitely on me. But you know what? You mentioned full per diem and travel.
Yeah.
We can arrange that, Gil. Put your application, come back in, and re-up with us for a couple of years. We'll take you up on that.
Ouch, Chief. Come on. Don't you put me on the spot in front of everybody here. Okay. I'll have to consult with the wife, and I'll let you know.
Hey, he's taking me serious here, guys. Man, that's hey, we need the Gils of the world to give us a hand. And then Gary Brugman and Giovanna, thank you. Hey, it's an honor to interact with you. I appreciate what you say. Border Patrol, we love you and we salute you. Thank you.
Yeah, and there's another guy you worked with at El Centro that later on that you worked with, that you had a little bet going to see who would spike a vehicle first. I won't mention him by name, but that guy too. He's like, he adores you so much. It's a little bit obnoxious. It's a little bit nauseating.
Well, you know what? I'm still trying to spike that damn vehicle, because even though that individual's retired, if I spike it, I win. And
amen to that, right? That was never a stipulation.
It had never a stipulation. You know what? He's going to owe me a real expensive bottle when I spike that vehicle, because it's going to be that's interest accrued. Right?
Yeah. So just be waiting. So, Chief, final word. What would you want to communicate to Americans? You got your retired Border Patrol, you got your active Border Patrol, huge people a lot of people are going to listen to you. What would you say to the American public right now that you want them to understand about this effort, this mission, and you moving forward?
Sure. Well, to the public, first and foremost, we have your back. And as I said before in this podcast, Gil, is we work for the American public, and we understand what you're going through. We understand some of the problems that you face with illegal immigration and illegal aliens, especially some of those inner city members in places like Chicago and Los Angeles who first put that on the map to us. When we arrived in those cities, Gil, they came up to us and said, "Thank God you're here." They were up against this on a daily basis. And then also those thousands of Americans, whether it's the Molly Tibbetts, the Kate Steinleys, the Officer Singhs, the Jacqueline Nungareys, the National Guardsman that was killed a couple of days ago.
So many.
so many. We've got their backs. There should never be angel moms in this country. The fact that there are, I'm very sorry for that, but we're going to do something about it. The U.S. Border Patrol is an organization of action and an organization of accomplishment, and we're going to accomplish the mission here. We're going hard, and we'll go hard until this mission's accomplished. We're going to make you retired Border Patrol agents proud, and the current Border Patrol agents, we're gonna be riding the trail together, and we're gonna get this thing done. So we love the American public, and we love the Border Patrol.
Amen, sir. Amen. You know, in my old age, I'm 62 years old, yet I love having heroes, right? Captain America, Charlie Kirk, and I think you are bringing back that grit, that iron, that steel, that from Jeff Milton, who was the forefather of every line watch agent that ever lived. He was one of the greatest Old West law enforcement officers. Even I think he surpasses Wyatt Earp, because Wyatt Earp was a felon at some points, but Jeff Milton was a law enforcement officer through and through. Got in trouble just like Border Patrol does. Got drunk, got late to work, got in bar fights, all the good stuff that we cut our teeth on. But you're bringing back that spirit that why we were created to begin with. We were created as the enforcement arm of the INS. Nothing more, nothing less. The moment you try to water that down with anybody or anything else, that's when it goes wrong. And Chief, you are beginning to come full circle. 101 years later, you are steering us, and not just you, your team, your people, the Border Patrol agents that are out there that are under you right now, or are going to work for you, or are going to end up working in other sectors. We're turning the Border Patrol back to its roots. And for that, thank you for giving us that pride back, giving us that strength, and the Mean Green family, the family unit. That is worth its weight in gold.
Well, Gil, thank you. I'm not sure I deserve all that praise, but thank you. And hey, it's the retired folks had a lot to do with this. I had some good mentors along the way. We need to mention that. The BCs,
I know you
pastors,
did. We're nothing without our journeymen. That's
right. Absolutely. And then obviously it's the agents and the command staff here, but glad to do it. And we got a lot more in the tank here.
Well, Chief, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming on this little show, right? But I know that you did this simply because I'm a fellow agent, and that's how much you have respect you have, from the lowest ranking member of the Border Patrol active to the rank and file going through the retired Border Patrol. That's how much respect you have for every one of us. So we're grateful for that. Stay safe. What's that saying that in SWAT? Stay fluid, stay frosty, and stay safe, right? Keep taking care of your men and women, and keep doing what you're doing. And America and the rest of us, all of us, support you 100%.
All right. Well, Gil, thank you. It means a lot. And we'll see you on that next podcast. We'll have some good stories on retirement. So I'll look forward to it.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chief. Thank you for your time and everything that you've done today for me.
Thank you.
And for us. Thank you.
And that's a wrap on my Old Patrol sit down with Chief Gregory Bovino. I originally planned to split this into 3 parts, but trust me, dropping it as one epic, uncut conversation hits way harder. We could have talked for days, but what you just heard reveals everything you need to know. This is a man who refuses to sling mud even when I tried to hand him the shovel. That's not weakness, that's statesmanship. And that's a rare leader who seeks to bring people in from the cold instead of banishing them to them. And make no mistake, Chief Bovino is a true believer, a patriot who still gets fired up about the flag, the oath, and the mission. He bleeds green and carries the uncompromising weight of protecting this nation from all enemies, both foreign and domestic, like it was branded on his soul the very day he pinned on the badge. And that is the heart of the Old Patrol. History, heritage, and legacy, with a few shenanigans along the way. Follow Old Patrol HQ everywhere. The line is still out there, and real leaders like Chief Bovino are still holding it. Honor first, honor always, or no honor at all.